Welcome into the 20th episode this year of Plead Your Case. I'll be your host, Ethan Spazarski, for a great slate of topics. Today, first, we sit down and talk Bob Nutting. Is he the worst owner in all of pro sports? We'll dive into more of the Pittsburgh Pirates aspect for that segment. Then we'll take a pause, step back into the ring of 5 in 5 as Michael McKenzie looks to defend his crown once more. And then finally, we wrap up with the March Madness. The madness continues. We've reached our final 4 teams. Who will be the one to win the national championship this year? You'll just have to listen and wait and find out here on Plead Your Case.
Hey there, sports fans. You're watching another episode of Waynesburg University Community Television's only national sports debate show, Plead Your Case. Whether you're a diehard fan or a casual observer, get ready to join us every week as we dive deep into current pressing sports topics. Our panelists dissect every angle, every scenario, and every statistic to influence their fiery takes.
What has he done without Tom Brady?
And spirited arguments.
No, listen, Bowtie. Have you ever played Foursquare? No, you were too old to play Foursquare.
There will be no argument unexplored, and every take will be under review.
After reviewing the play...
Here in the Waynesburg University Communication Department, we believe in heated debates with a touch of friendly competition, which is why we also have a fresh 5 in 5 mini segment that you won't want to miss.
I don't think a pitcher is breaking Cy Young's wins record of 511.
You Google America's team and what do you get? You get the...
So sit back, relax, and get ready for some serious sports chat. It is time to plead your case.
Welcome in now as PYC episode 20 officially begins. To my left, Seth Adams. To my farther left, Anthony DeFilippo. As now our first topic of the day, gentlemen. Why is Bob Nutting the worst? Period. Let's not sugarcoat it. Let's not put anything around it. And we're going to kind of dive more into the Pittsburgh Pirates side of things, because I know we kind of talked beforehand of that being a focal point of what we wanted to talk about. So just to lay the ground and foundation for the people at home. The Pirates, the last 2 seasons, have finished 76 and 86, which is a total record of 152 and 172. They finished in the bottom 2 spots of the NL Central for every season since 2017. That's nine consecutive seasons for the Pirates. Haven't made the postseason since 2015, and as well, last season spent a total of $86.5 roughly million on their team as a whole. Ticket-wise, almost more than that. They almost spent as much in tickets as they have on their team as a whole. A few other nuggets we'll talk about later. But right now, let's talk about, should in the future the Pittsburgh Pirates be focused on spending more on players? Why is it Bob Nutting's fault? And as well, should there be a floor put in the future as we look ahead?
So let's go ahead. You start us
off. The answer to your question, the floor question, is yes. They should put a salary floor in, and they also should put a salary cap in, because you can't really have one work without the other. Now, is it going to happen next year? Absolutely not. It's not going to happen until the end of 2026 when the CBA expires again. They're going to have probably another lockout or a delayed start to spring training because the league was not fixed. And now you have this whole torpedo bat situation, and that just adds another wrinkle.
Mm-hmm.
It's ridiculous.
The MLB is in a position right now where it's becoming kind of unfun to watch situations unfold a little bit. When you have teams, like you said, who are so dominant, have such a high salary cap, like the Dodgers, Yankees, those guys are obviously going to be dominant. I mean, look at the Yankees right now. They are undefeated on the season so far, and same with the Dodgers. And they have the highest payroll. I'm not saying that teams that don't have a high payroll can't compete. It's just the ones who have such a low payroll sometimes just don't really care that they're not very good. Like, it's like, all right, I mean, we're paying $84 million on our team. Who really cares if we're still making some money? So I feel like that's kind of where the ownership comes into play. Now, is Bob Nutting the worst of all time? I don't think so. I think there's, and Flip and I discussed this before, I think there's multiple worse candidates for that, but I still think it puts a play into how good a team can be.
So we can confirm, kind of off your point, that the payroll on the team matters depending on the team's success. Because look at,
well, of course it matters.
Top five payrolls right now in the MLB. Dodgers, $330 million. Mets, $322 million. Then you have the Yankees at $288, Phillies at 283 roughly, and the Blue Jays coming off the top
See, that's
five,
where it gets
243.
that's where it gets sketchy there, because the Blue Jays, they finished last in their division. So I mean, I know they played in a stacked division, but still, even though you have a great payroll, that doesn't mean they're going to be so successful. They could still be not good.
Well, and then
with
you
a
have
big
teams
payroll.
like the Baltimore Orioles who are paying a bunch of younger players on younger or rookie contracts, and they're making the playoffs.
They had a great
Because their
farm
farm-
system,
Right, and they have a good
system.
farm
Best of the
system, so
first.
it's all about the development in their case,
Yeah,
and
they're
the Rays
doing
as well.
And they're doing a good job at
Yeah.
it. The Orioles,
Yeah.
they found out who their star players are at a young age and are able to adapt them into their roster and not have to pay them as much. And they're still going to be one of the most dominant teams this year as well, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing is the Pirates are failing at both. They're
Yes.
failing at developing players, and they're also failing to pay outside free agents, and that is why they suck so much. let's just put it frankly how
Yeah.
it is. I mean, Bob Nutting, no, he's not the worst owner in professional sports history. I know that's more of the question. You can talk about Jerry Jones and how he's messed the Cowboys up beyond oblivion. You can talk about another owner in the MLB, John Fisher of the Athletics. He just completely screwed their entire fan base.
They're gone.
And then Jimmy Haslam of the Cleveland Browns, they have the most pathetic organization ever to exist. So how is Bob Nutting's not even bottom five in my opinion?
Yeah, I doing some research on all of the time, like even in the top 10. I know I read an article posted in 2022. He wasn't even in the top 10 on that article. So I mean, he's still not great. Don't get me wrong, but he has the potential to bring in audiences with Paul Skeens, Nick Gonzalez, who unfortunately did get hurt, Jared Jones, Mitch Keller. These guys are still really solid on this ball club, but when you got guys like David Bednar with a 27 ERA, he's only pitched one complete inning and has let up too many runs and has blown a couple of games by now.
How can
It's
your
frustrating.
closer get optioned after 5 games into the season? Just how?
It's frustrating. As Pirates fans all over Pittsburgh, it's frustrating, Ethan, because what can you can't do anything about it. You want them to go out and get a guy, but they get Tommy Pham, who he batted leadoff in the opening day and really hasn't done anything all year so far. He hasn't been that kind of guy for them yet. And Brian Reynolds, he's only got a 182 batting average. He leads the team in strikeouts. He's struggling. I feel like the team is just not in a great spot right now in general.
You can end the who's the better Cruz conversation too, by the way. It's not O'Neill, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah.
Ellie De La Cruz hit 2 home runs. He stole 70 bases last year. People who still thought O'Neill Cruz was a guy who could hit 35 home runs, throw it out the window. I don't care if it's been 5 games.
Yeah, and one more thing. What did I want to say? It's just so.
I feel like a therapist. Right
Yeah,
now.
I know. But
Talk
I mean,
to me
like-
about your issues.
I appreciate you letting us vent, by the way.
I'm not even I get it. Yeah.
One thing I want to mention, though, is that even though this team has been struggling, we're only 5 games in, right? They're 1-4. We look, the White Sox, they're really successful right now. They have an ERA, a team ERA below 1.
You're telling me the White Sox aren't good?
No, but I mean, like, in those, like, the Pirates 2 years ago were 20-8 at one point.
Right.
And then they were 11-5 last year, and then they kind of fell apart in both of those. It's still the beginning of the season. We can still rant, we can still go off, but we still have time to see what this team can do.
Yeah.
Hopefully Nick Gonzalez gets better quick. Hopefully Jared Jones gets back in time. But it's still the beginning of the season. We're 5 games in. Anything could really happen.
So overall, we kind of talked about some of those key positions, some key players. I mean, you have Skeens, you have Jared Jones when he's healthy, you have Nick Gonzalez when he's healthy, you have Mitch Keller, you have Brian Reynolds. Those are some of the top-notch guys that have consistently performed for the very few that there are. Maybe who are someone else that maybe the Pirates could go and get for, I guess, maybe if you want to consider it cheap or maybe a little bit unrealistic catch for them that can maybe propel them into a better spot.
Bubba Chandler. He's in their farm system. I mean, you talk about several players who are in their farm system. You have to start
Johnson,
developing
too.
players. Yeah, I don't think Tamar's going to be that good, but that's beyond that. I think he's one of the most overrated prospects. He should have been traded in the offseason. But yeah, I mean, you look at their farm system, you got to start calling some of these guys up. No, you don't rush them to the majors right now. And if you look throughout the rest of the league, I don't know. I mean, in the offseason, you could have brought in a first baseman, a real one. You could have brought in Pete Alonso. You could have brought in Christian Walker. You could have brought literally anybody other than Spencer Horwitz, who, by the way, they traded Luis Ortiz to get, who I was super high on and still really am.
He really turned around last year. Like,
Yeah.
he had a first.
I mean,
believe
you cannot let these guys
Rocky
go.
start, but he really cemented
and,
through.
and to a starting position, too, in the starting routine.
Yeah.
Like, it,
How
Go
many
ahead,
years
sorry.
until Tamar Johnson gets up here? 2. It might be 2 or more. He's still stuck down there in Double-A. Why don't you trade him to get current assets? Trade your future. He's not even part of the future, in my opinion. They have too many second basemen. You have a Nick Gonzalez already.
Nick Gonzalez,
You haven't. O'Neill Cruz really shouldn't even be playing
They
center
should.
for
We
the
call
Pirates.
us.
So
I mean, it's kind of funny. You think with the Padres too, they have all these shortstops, and then they're moving things around. And
Right.
I mean, I kind of think it's funny. The Pirates have Ono Cruz, natural shortstop,
Right.
move him over to second. Then you put him in the outfield. Next thing you know, I think Ono Cruz will be our next closer.
Yeah.
You know? Why not?
Well,
Huh?
next thing you know, people are complaining that O'Neal Cruz is making errors in center. Ooh, who thought that would ever come? He's never played an inning of center field in his professional career until last year.
Well, it's kind of funny. It's how like Bryce Harper gets moved from outfield to first base. Took a second, but he's settled in. He's done
Maybe
his
O'Neal
job.
Cruz should be your first baseman. There
Exactly.
You go.
Then there's another
Long
position.
legs.
Bada bing, bada
The
boom.
long list. I think Breck can beat his list of first baseman really capitalized. It also cements the point of this team's definitely struggled, and it's definitely worked towards it. But now my final question to you for this segment: should Bob Nutting sell the team? That's been chant number one. That's question number one. Should he sell the team?
Yes. How is the answer no? Seriously, how is the? I mean. I would love to hear somebody up on this panel or somebody in the general public argue no, because they've been that bad for that long. Dejan Kovacevic just came out with that entire article. I don't know if you guys got a chance to even peek at it going into the Pirates' finances. Apparently, they're losing money right now. I don't even.
Yeah,
I don't even know how that's possible.
Greg Brown. Actually.
Right, Greg Brown was talking about it, but Dejan went into this full dissertation on how the Pirates are losing money. If you're an owner right now and you're losing money by spending $90 million on payroll, what else are you spending money on at that point? You're burning it. You must be just throwing millions of dollars into a fire.
Hey, it's like hey,
it's the Boston Tea Party. He's doing the Boston Tea Party. He's just tossing millions of dollars off of a ship.
we got. I like how it's like you got to fix the team, but no, we're gonna fix the jumbotron first.
Speaking of Boston, they also own the Penguins, so you know.
Yeah, that is another problem.
And you look at all the times since he's been here in 2007, the Pirates have had 150 win season, 6 60 win seasons, 6 70 win seasons, 2 80 win seasons, and 2 90 win seasons. Since 2007, they made the playoffs only 3 times. They haven't won the division since 1992. This team has just, their fans are deprived. They need something to cling on to. They need that Paul Skeens, Jared Jones, Mitch Keller to be able to get them into the postseason. But it's not happened yet. Where they need some more batters. They need some more guys who can hit. IKF, I still think was a pretty good signing. He's been doing well so far. I think he's batting .333 on the year so far. But the Pirates, we look at last year, they were 56 and 54 at one point, and then things fell apart right when they needed to spark against
after that July 19th game.
After that,
it all goes
after
back
all
to
the
July
wild
19th.
card, they needed to win. They were battling for the wild card. Then they played all those teams in the wild card and lost. Went on a 10-game losing streak, and that kind of just put them in a hole that they couldn't dig out of. So this team, they had the potential to do something, and they needed to get another guy in the offseason. They got Tommy Pham and Spencer Horwitz. That's really it. I mean, they need to go out and make something happen, and they just aren't.
Bring back Neil Huntington. That's my final comment.
Bring back Neil Huntington. Well, I would like to just clarify, was there any final thoughts on what we've been discussing this Pirates rant session? Is there anything else you guys think is crucial to the team? Maybe something that could help? Anything else? Maybe, I understand, I mean, there was a time where there was a chance, is Bob Nutting going to sell the team at all as a whole? Like, he was getting up.
Here's my final thought. I heard Mike and Dean talk about it, and they're going to talk about it on the next segment, who they think should be the closer for the Pirates. I think it should be Carmen Mlodzinski. I think Carmen Mlodzinski, the guy who they ramped up to be a starter in spring training, he is the nastiest stuff out of the pen right now that Thomas Harrington has slid in. That's my thought.
I'm done.
So
36 blown leads last year.
Yep.
I'm done.
That's all.
Yep.
That's all. I like it. Let's put a nice little bow on that one and wrap up our first segment here on why Bob Nutting and the Pittsburgh Pirates just they're not doing enough for us up here on the panel. But we're going to take a break, maybe get a glass of water, refresh ourselves. But when we come back on this other side of the break, we have our 5 in 5 segment. Michael McKenzie defends his crown, but against who? We'll have to find out in the next segment here on Plead Your Case.
I love screaming on camera. It's my favorite thing.
I didn't want to argue with Flip because Hello, everyone. Welcome back into our 5 and 5 segment. We have the returning champion to my left in Michael McKenzie, and now he faces a terrible foe in Mr. Dean Shazer. Gentlemen, I expect a clean and fair fight, but I expect a very good one. Honestly, probably going to be the best one yet. If I was a bracketologist, I'd say this
Clean
is about
and fair. We'll see.
This will be the biggest challenge. Mike, we decided you're the winner. You decided you wanted to go first. You'll answer first for all the odd questions. Dean will answer first for all the even questions. 30 seconds on the clock. You understand the rule. 5 questions. Here we go. Question number 1. Should O'Neal Cruz be a center fielder? Mike, you have 30 seconds.
I'm going to say yes, because you look at his athleticism, his 6'7" size. He's got the tools to be a center fielder, probably fits in center field better than shortstop. And the mistakes we've seen so far early in the season have all been mental and effort related. He'd be making similar mistakes if he's playing at shortstop. In terms of, just being a center fielder, he hasn't made mistakes from that standpoint. His mistakes have all been effort related, mental related. He'd be making similar mistakes at shortstop. And the type of player he is, his build, his frame, he fits better.
Time. Dean?
Well, the way you phrased it, it was a little bit weird. Should he be a center fielder? Probably not. Should be the center fielder on the Pittsburgh Pirates? Absolutely. Who else are you going to put there? Nick York, Billy Cook. You can't. O'Neal Cruz has been error-filled his whole career. In 107 games last year, 24 errors. League leading at short. He has mental errors no matter where you put him on the field. But like Mike said, with his speed, with his athleticism, and his arm strength, that's going to cover up for some of the errors. Yeah, he's made some boneheaded plays by chucking the ball home late in the game and can't judge a ball off the wall, but he needs to be the Pittsburgh Pirates center fielder moving forward this season.
Very well done. Very well done. All right, one question in the books. We'll keep it rolling right now. Question number 2, Dean, you'll answer first. Which Pittsburgh team will be the first to win a playoff game? I guess for the Pirates and the Penguins series would be the correct phrasing, but which Pittsburgh team will do it first?
Well, it's not going to be the Pittsburgh Steelers as long as Mike Tomlin was their head coach. That train has clearly is off the rails. It's going to be the Pittsburgh Penguins, and I think it's pretty clear because I don't see them getting rid of Mike Sullivan anytime soon, especially with the star-studded young lineup, the young studs that he has coming up. If you look similar to the 2015, 16, 16, 17 teams, Sullivan knows how to build around speed and young talent.
Very well done. All right, Mr. McKenzie, your rebuttal.
Well, I agree. Tomlin's not winning a playoff game anytime soon with the Steelers. I'm going to go with the Pirates. It feels like for the Penguins, they're younger, but it feels like they're entering more of a rebuild. For the Pirates, the starting pitching that they have, Jones, Skeens, Keller, I feel like at some point in the next 3 years, they're going to get luck into a playoff appearance, win a wild card series. It just feels like even with how cursed they are and how bad of an owner Bob Nutting is, the same way they did from 2013 to 2015, they kind of luck into a playoff roster, and with this pitching, get a series win.
We just talked about Mr. Nutting and that terrible ownership, so make sure to rewind that if you missed that segment. Now, moving on to question 3. Mike, is David Bednar, now, at the time of this recording, I should say, David Bednar has been sent down to AAA Indianapolis for the Pirates.
2 minutes ago.
About 2 minutes ago, exactly. So the question's been kind of changed. Who should the Pirates' official closer be on the season? Mike, we'll start with you.
Should and will are 2 different answers. Will be probably Colin Holderman. It should be, in my opinion, Ryan Borucki. He's more of a strikeout pitcher compared to the rest of the bullpen. 0 earned runs given up in 3 innings. He's only given up 1 hit, only walked 1 batter. He's been efficient in his 3 innings. He's more of a strikeout guy. That slider has been phenomenal for Borucki. He's finally fully healthy. Was already probably going to slide into a back end of the bullpen role. Now you can move him into the closer role, a guy you've had on the team for a number of years. I think just it makes more sense with Borucki, his performance, and the fact he's been on the roster and was going to be a back-end bullpen guy already.
All right, very nice. Dean, your turn.
I'm going to talk about Caleb Ferguson here. Yeah, he started the season in New York last year with the Yankees. He didn't play that well. Wasn't very good on the Yankees. Moved to Houston, started getting things settled under him, was a late game reliever in those, and he's had the 3 cleanest bullpen innings for the Pirates this season. Only 1 hit, 2 walks through 3 appearances so far. He's pitched 3 innings up to this young point in the season for the Pittsburgh Pirates. And it has to be Caleb Ferguson. Just the pure dominance in the late innings of relief so far up to this point, and with Holderman's struggles, you slide Ferguson back, see what he could do in that 9th inning spot, and just give him the reps.
Very nice. All right. Question number 4. We'll start with you, Dean, over there. Sidney Crosby became the first player in NHL history to do this 20 seasons in a row, to average a point per game per season. Where does he now rank on the NHL list of all-time players?
If you compare Sidney Crosby to LeBron, they're pretty much the same player coming into the league. Everybody knows what LeBron has done. Sidney Crosby, Tim Hortons Player of the Year when he was 6 years old. He's had the spotlight on him since he was in his youth. And he won 3 Stanley Cups, 2 Harts, 2 Art Ross, 2 Finals MVPs, and he's the youngest captain to win the Cup. He's led this team since an 18-year-old, and he's leading this team as a 37-year-old. 20 years of pure dominance. Sidney Crosby ranks top 3 all time in the NHL behind Mario Lemieux and Wayne Gretzky.
All righty. Mr. McKenzie, your rebuttal.
I'm going to go number 2. I'm going to put him over Mario Lemieux and put him at number 2. Nobody's going to surpass the great one, at least, I don't think. The dude was so dominant. I just don't think anybody's going to pass it up. But I don't need to repeat the accolades Dean just repeated. He was pretty much hailed as the hockey prodigy as a 14, 15-year-old. And not only did he meet the expectations everybody set for him, he surpassed those, not only as a Pittsburgh Penguin, but in Olympic play as well. You can't forget about the golden goal in the Olympics for Sidney Crosby for the Canadian national team. I'm going to put him at number 2 over Mario Lemieux because I think he has more skill overall as a hockey player.
Forgot about the golden goal. Thank you, Mike.
The golden goal.
The golden goal.
Come on now.
All right, gentlemen, we move on to question number 5, our final 5 in the 5 and 5. Retirement or Pittsburgh? Which one will Aaron Rodgers choose? Mike, we'll finish off with you.
If it's between those two, I think he chooses Pittsburgh because he still thinks he's got something left in the tank. He doesn't want to retire now. I don't think he chooses either. I think he's going to wait until July or August because every year at least one team loses their quarterback in training camp to injury so that he can sign with that team. They'll be desperate for a quarterback. They'll pay him what he wants, and he can be the so-called savior of that season to whatever team loses their quarterback in camp instead of going to Pittsburgh, a team with obviously no direction, a team with 2 head case wide receivers that he doesn't want to have to deal with. I just think he waits for the right situation, even if it means waiting until August.
All right, Dean?
See, I like the point you brought up about preseason because the Vikings really don't know about J.J. McCarthy yet, but I didn't want that to start by 30 seconds, even though it will, so I got to move quick. DK Metcalf and Aaron Rodgers, a video just surfaced of them practicing, and as you said, Mike, throwing the ball over the middle isn't a Pittsburgh Steeler type thing. However, I do think Aaron Rodgers ends up in Pittsburgh. I don't think he cares about the head case. He's still making $37 million from the New York Jets. It really doesn't matter what Pittsburgh pays him. He wants to play football. He wants that media spotlight on him. His Aaron Rodgers. He's been like that his whole career. He's going to be in Pittsburgh.
All right.
What about the media spotlight? I mean, he's just attention.
Ayahuasca, retreat.
The Netflix documentary.
I'm not watching that. Clearly he wants the spotlight, though.
He carries the spotlight with him. He does it himself.
It's pretty ridiculous.
That's a
He's
good
the
point,
biggest
though. I wish I would've-
diva quarterback I've ever seen in NFL history.
I agree.
And that's why I think just the whole Tomlin-esque, and
It would make
he
sense.
said he's loved Tomlin for the past 5 years. Like, remember that one video where Tomlin winked at him and Rodgers was talking about it on the McAfee show? It's going to happen.
Ding, ding, ding. Ring, ring, ring of the bell. We have finished our 5 and 5. Ladies and gentlemen, with a final score of 4-1, your winner of the 5 and 5 segment is Dean Shazer. Congratulations, Dean.
4-1, Mike.
4-1.
That's the first 4-1 in history.
It is the first 4-1. Good
I
job.
want to know
I
that.
give credit.
I
Dean
would-
started
yeah.
out with a clean sweep of the first 3 questions, in my opinion. I gave Mike number 4 only because I liked his reasoning. I thought he was a little more prepared for the question. But 5, I liked. You both had the same answer, but I think Dean's explanation.
What was number 4?
Sidney Crosby.
Sidney Crosby.
I think he does rank 3. However,
That's the one I wanted.
That's the one I honestly didn't think I'd get.
I think Mike's reasoning was very solid. I had to give it to him. But 4-1 final score. Dean, congratulations. We'll see you next week. Take on
See you,
whoever
Mike.
is up
Congratulations.
next.
Been a good
But
run.
that's
Yeah.
going to conclude our 5 in 5 segment. We now wrap up to our final segment here on today's episode of PYC. The March Madness continues with Seth and Anthony DeFilippo back on the desk with me for the next segment. Don't go anywhere. We've talked about Bob Nutting. We've crowned a new 5 and 5 champion, and now it's time to handle the madness. March Madness, to be exact. The Elite Eight has concluded itself. We now have a week off for March Madness before we get back into the Final Four. In case you're curious, in case you were not paying attention, Florida, Auburn, Duke, and Houston, all number 1 seeds in the Final Four this time. First time since 2008 when you saw Memphis, UCLA, North Carolina, and Kansas do so themselves. Gentlemen, first, the only thing I want to touch on first that I thought was a very good question by our producer Logan Arbuster. Traditionally, March Madness has brought in a lot of Cinderella stories. Maybe some double-digit seeds making it in. For God's sakes, we can talk about NC State last year. Maybe even Arkansas this year when they showed potential push. Does that really affect you in your viewership? Do you think that makes a big difference in all number one seeds being in the Final Four? Or do you think it's okay that there are number one seeds and not always a Cinderella story?
I think that having those Cinderella stories are so good for the tournament because it brings in viewers. What is this about most of the time? It's about money, let's be honest. And you're going to get those views when those guys are fighting at that maybe 14, 13 seed. They're battling it out against these 2 and 1 seeds. And if they win, the outcome is just stupendous for them. I mean, everyone is watching it. Everyone is rooting for them. No one wants the number 1 seeds in it. Let's be honest. Unless you're a fan of that team, you really don't want the number 1 seeds in. Sure, it's kind of what's meant to be. But if you really have a 16, 15, 14 seed in there battling it out, you want to watch that. I just think it's great for the tournament, and it's fun for all the viewers out there, too. It's kind of unfortunate, and let's be honest, this is like a huge coincidence. Like, the chances of this happening are extremely rare. So the fact that it did happen is pretty cool, but I think this year it's just, oh well, like it is what it is. But I think having those Cinderella stories are fantastic for the tournament.
I think I'm one of the perfect people to answer this question, or at least people like me, because I'm not an average college basketball watcher. And so you ask me, have I been watching the games recently while these 1 seeds have just been terrorizing the rest of the tournament? The answer is no. I would love to see these Cinderella teams. I remember watching Loyola Chicago all those years ago, kind of running through the tournament, St. Peter's a couple of years ago, FDU, when they beat Purdue, and I was really enjoying those teams. Arkansas was the biggest Cinderella team this year, and they have Coach Calipari coaching their team. I mean, they're not a Cinderella team. Yeah. Loyola Chicago blows them out of the water as far as those tiaras and those glass slippers go.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
the Cinderella stories, at least for this season, are over, and the 1 seed's making it for the first time in 18 years. That just doesn't excite me at all.
2 years ago, Miami, Florida, San Diego State, I know, Florida Atlantic as well. Those were just some, there weren't any 1 seeds. It was like 4s, 5s, and 9 and 11. FAU was, yeah, exactly. So there was a lot going on there. It was a lot of fun to watch. I personally will take on the side of the story. I think traditionally, I agree. Cinderella stories are a lot more fun to watch, especially as someone who doesn't watch the whole season. Primarily, I focus towards the end because of just a busy schedule and others. I know sports and football, professional football doesn't end until halfway through the college basketball season anyway. But I think overall this year, the teams were just too dominant. We're going to get into that right now. So first, you have Duke taking on Houston, and then you'll have Auburn taking on Florida. Starting with Duke in Houston. Duke has won 5 national championships. Hasn't won one since 2015, though. Houston has not won a single national championship yet. And if you look at the numbers, this is going to be a crazy offensive battle. You have some of the most popular names in college basketball in Duke. While Houston, they're a lockdown team defensively. They averaged the least amount of offensive points per game of the 4 teams remaining. But so far of the tournament, they've only allowed 226 points. That's the fewest of all the Final Four teams. So talk about this. Who do you think wins this one primarily, Duke or Houston?
I think Duke, far and away. They were my winner pick since the beginning. Cooper Flagg is the National Player of the Year. I mean, you can't pick anybody but Duke. Houston, yes, they are a lockdown team, but I'm going to pick the team. I know since Coach K left, they haven't made it all the way to the Final Four in almost 50 years. They get to the national championship this season.
Yeah, I think that Duke has kind of had their unfortunate years in the past. Like you said, haven't won since 2015, so it's been a decade since they've won their championship. But yeah, this team is just unreal. They're 7th in scoring defense, along with 7th in offense in the whole entire NCAA. They got 2 guys averaging near 7 rebounds a game, and Cooper Flagg and Malawach. This Duke team is just so dominant. Houston, yeah, they're 1st in scoring defense, but I just don't think they're going to have the capability to get past this Duke team who has just been winning. Like, they're not keeping it close with any teams this whole tournament. They're winning. So I think that Duke got this one pretty locked up. Houston, they'll put up a good fight. They'll keep it lower than what Duke normally scores, but I got Duke in this one too.
I agree. I think Duke has been consistently the most dominant team. That includes a team in Florida. Then the other side of the bracket was in the regular season in the SEC tournament. They won the SEC tournament. They were blowing out every team by 10, 15 points. Duke here, they run their first game this so far in the tournament, 93-49. They beat Baylor then in the next round of 32, 89-66. Then they dismantle Arizona However, Arizona makes a late push, 100-93 win there. And then again in the Elite Eight, a 85-65 win over Alabama. Alabama is a very good team. Mark Sears, fantastic all-around player. They just shut down the Crimson Tide like it was nothing. That's just what Duke does. And then for Houston's side, a lot closer. They beat SIU Edwardsville 78-40. They beat Gonzaga 81-76. That was a very close, well-contested game.
Gonzaga's a good program, though.
And then Houston they are a very good program. Gonzaga consistently making it past the Sweet 16.
They make it interesting almost every
This is the first time, I believe, in
And by the way, I picked Georgia, so everybody can laugh at me now.
16 years that Gonzaga hasn't made it past the Sweet 16. I know that was a crazy streak. Then Houston beats Purdue by 2, 62-60, and then insanely close final seconds there against Purdue. And then the Elite Eight, they beat Tennessee 69-50. So overall, Duke's been definitely more dominant team offensively. Houston shut down teams, but a clean sweep across the board. Duke will be heading to the national championship and have a chance to win the first one since 2015. Now, on the other side of things, it's a little different. Florida has won 2 national championships. That was back-to-back in 06 and 07. Auburn's never made it to a championship game, period. And the only time they ever made it to the Final Four, they lost. So Auburn has no experience in this whatsoever, has no national championship to back it up. And on top of that, their offense is equally matched right now with Florida. So, gentlemen, I ask you this question. Who wins on that side of the bracket?
This is far and away the tougher matchup to pick. I think no questions asked. I can get flamed for this. I think 100% Duke will be in the national championship. On this side, I think Johnny Broome is going to get it done for Auburn. He has been dominant all tournament long. People are talking about him left and right. Florida, yes, they have Walter Clayton Jr., but yeah, I think it'll be Auburn in the national championship for the first time ever.
Broome, yeah, he's solid. He did have some injury issues a little bit, which may plague him a tad. Clayton Jr.'s coming off of a 30-point win. This is the toughest one, but I have Florida going to the chip. So I'm gonna put my personal ego into this. I'm taking Florida in this one. I feel like Auburn has been kind of the team that has been more under the radar compared to these other number 1 seeds. I feel people talk about more about Duke and Florida compared to like Houston and Auburn. I feel that Florida has the capabilities of doing so. They're too evenly matched. Like, statistically wise, they're almost exactly the same over this whole tournament. So, but I think Florida's going to get the edge on them here. So I'm going to take Florida and Duke for the championship.
Give me Florida. I have had Florida and Duke since day one.
Same.
In my national championship.
That's why I'm still taking Auburn, because my bracket just was horrible. So it's obviously got to be right.
I only have 2 brackets. In my Final Four, I got this Final Four right in one of my brackets. In the other bracket, I had Michigan State over Auburn. So I'm pretty proud of myself for riding through with it. But a key thing I want to talk about here is the inconsistency from Auburn. I think when it comes down to clutch moments and clutch game time, when Auburn needs a win, when it's a 4-point game, 30 seconds left, I'm not trusting Auburn at all. Examples were ridiculed and just written all throughout the regular season. If you want to look at the Iron Bowl against Auburn or against Alabama versus Auburn, there's your key example. Work down into crunch time. Auburn fought with it, stayed close, forces overtime, and then just at the end when they need a clutch stop at the buzzer, you're up 1. You just cannot hold on to it. I think that was more than enough for me there. And then also Florida's domination has been well. Clayton Jr. has scored 20 plus.
Lost to UConn. That game against UConn.
Well, exactly what I was getting to.
That's the only thing.
Florida in this tournament has been uncharacteristically close. I talked in the tournament versus Tennessee. They beat him in the SEC championship by like 15, 20 points. Right. It wasn't close. Florida, Gators blew him out of the water. But think of it this way. Clayton Jr. scored 20-plus points in his first 2 games. He was the first player in Florida to do that. Then he drops 30 this last time as well. You have a different crew there competing. I think Auburn, if it comes down to close crunch time and it's Florida versus Auburn, in the close games, Florida's been the better team. They've been doing it this tournament. Auburn hasn't. Auburn didn't do it in the regular season. I'm going to take Florida and move on to the national championship. So, Florida versus Duke. Now, to quote Dean Shazer, it's never been easier. He said these 2 teams in the national championship's never been easier. Who is our national champion, the March Madness winner? Which team, which school will be the one raising the national championship?
I think Duke hopes it's Auburn in the national championship, because I think Duke will absolutely smack Auburn around. But if it's Duke and Florida, I think Florida gives Duke a better fight. I still think the Blue Devils win it. They just have they had all the aura coming in. They had everything going towards them. Duke, what's up with you? That's all I got to say.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Duke as well. I think Florida, they put up a good fight. They had that close one with UConn, but like Duke has just been dominant. So Cooper Flag, I mean,
I agree.
What up, Cooper Flag?
It's kind of like with I'll compare them to the Chiefs in a sense. You know they're coming in even with the semi struggles, maybe injuries, maybe it doesn't matter.
Could the Eagles win it then?
When this team opens the door, you know they mean business. Cooper Flag, the biggest hype towards any player I've ever seen coming into college basketball was behind Cooper Flag. He comes in here just after a team that loses. You lose Jeremy McCain, you lose Kyle Filipowski, and they just come in and run the tables. Duke wins the ACC, and I'm with you. I think they win the national championship. I think they've been the most consistent team and the most dominant team overall. You have a cast of guys that just consistently around the board can go in and do it. But Cooper Flag runs the yard. I think that's a fair statement to say. That's just exactly how it is. And that's how we're going to wrap up our episode here of PYC Today. PYC episode 20 in the books. We thank you for staying loyal and watching with us. For Anthony DeFilippo, for Seth Adams, for Dean Shazer, Michael McKenzie, our producer Logan Arblaster, we say so long. We'll see you all next week for episode 21. Thank you all for watching.
This has been a production of Waynesburg Community Television.